rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 6th Eastchester Union Free School District Board of Education meeting. And Happy New Year to everyone here in the audience and watching at home. Our first order of business tonight, Elias, we're happy to have you here with us again. I'm going to turn it over to you for the student report.
All right, so we'll start with Greenville, where this month in Greenville, the PBIS focuses on empathy, emphasizing the importance of understanding how others feel and responding with kindness and care. Students read Benji, The Bad Day, and Me by Sally J. Pla, a thoughtful story that explores emotions, perspective taking, and how compassion can change the course of someone's day. The book sparked meaningful classroom discussions about recognizing when others may be struggling and how small acts of empathy can make a big difference. As part of a school-wide activity, students created heartfelt cards for children at Maria Ferrari Children's Hospital. Through writing and drawing, students thoughtfully considered how their words and artwork could bring comfort, encouragement, and joy to others. This experience helped students practice empathy by thinking beyond themselves and recognizing how small acts of kindness can have a meaningful impact, especially for children facing challenging moments. Greenville also celebrated its Eagles of the Month, students who consistently demonstrated compassion, patience, and empathy towards their peers. Whether offering help, listening, or including others, these students exemplified how empathy strengthens the Greenville community. Now for Ann Hutch. During the month of January, Ann Hutch will welcome the Japanese Activity Committee for its long-standing Japanese calligraphy program. This tradition started over 20 years ago by Gina D'Orazio in collaboration with the Japanese Activity Committee, which blends art and a culture to help students build a deeper appreciation for cultural diversity among their peers. A highlight of the 5th grade curriculum is that the program introduces students to the history and tradition of kanji. Students are taught by members of the Japanese Activity Committee alongside their Japanese classmates and learn to create 2 symbols using sumi ink and traditional Japanese calligraphy techniques, finishing their work with a Japanese seal. The school extends sincere gratitude to the Japanese Activity Committee and Ms. D'Orazio for their continued dedication to preserving and enriching this cherished tradition for Ann Hutch students. The Eastchester Middle School is excited to welcome students and staff back for the second half of the school year and wishes all families a happy and healthy new year. Families are encouraged to be on the lookout for the upcoming mid-year communication, which will be shared shortly. The Eastchester High School is ringing in the new year with several exciting upcoming events. Spirit Week is underway with a special theme planned for students each day, culminating in the Winter Pep Rally on Friday. That evening, EHS will host the annual Augie Nardone basketball event against Tuckahoe, and the community is encouraged to attend and support the Eagles on the court. As part of advisory on January 7th, seniors will participate in a panel discussion featuring recent alumni focused on the transition to college. In addition, partners from the Leukemia Foundation will visit to speak with 10th grade students about the power of performing good deeds. On Saturday, January 10th, the ski club will host its first trip of the year to Bel Air Mountain. Sorry, I'm taking a little break. And now, that's it for the school reports, and we're changing it up a little bit. There's no 2 for 2, but because on Friday, December 5th, I hosted student listening sessions at the high school during all lunch periods. It was a great experience to learn more about the experience of our students, and I'd like to take this opportunity to share some of what I learned. There was lots of positive feedback about the new schedule. Students like having drop days and feels that it helps manage workload and stress.
That's great.
Students also like that classes are not always the same in the morning. The variation helps the school day feel a lot more balanced. Students not notice the extra 10 minutes added to class periods, and that really shows how the change feels really natural. And shorter homerooms are viewed positively and feel more efficient rather than drawn out. Students also offered some suggestions. Students would like to keep the back entrance open throughout the day for re-entering the school, with a security guard checking IDs like how they do it in the morning. This is especially helpful for students who park closer to the back of the building. During lunch, the study center should be better promoted so it is used more, which would help reduce the line in the main cafeteria. I'm also going to continue to collaborate with Mr. Welsh to better publicize the serving area in the study center. And navigating the new schedule makes it more challenging with the testing days. Students find designated testing days for each subject a little stressful and difficult to manage, especially when it results in having multiple tests in one day. I think it was a really valuable experience, and I plan to speak to Ms. LeBou about holding like similar sessions in the middle school.
That's great.
And yeah, that's it from my report. Thank you.
Elias, thank you very much. And I think just for those of you that watch closely, I think last year, we know change is very difficult. And our North Star as a Board of Education is always our students. And hearing that feedback, that is actually critical to us. And hearing how the secondary schedule change has benefited the students, and the students are actually feeling it. So thank you for that feedback. And all of the information that you provide to this board and to Dr. Villanueva and her cabinet, we take that very seriously. We go back, we talk about that and see how we can implement those changes. So I would say to you, continue to do what you're doing and having those listening sessions and bring that to the board. I love the fact that you're going to sit down with Ms. LeBou and do that in the middle school as well. But again, the students feeling the benefit of the secondary change is something that I know is near and dear to many of us and all of us sitting here. And I know that there was a lot of angst, there was a lot of concern, there was a lot of debate because change is difficult. But knowing that the students are feeling the positive impact of that has made it all worthwhile. So thank you very much for sharing that with us tonight.
Can I just ask a question quick? Just for clarity, you said some of the challenges that the students had, one was the parking, well, the back door, being able to have like an entranceway, right? Was that like, and what was the other, the other challenge was around the cafeteria or lunch? I couldn't hear you that much.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily the parking. It
Not
was,
parking, but-
it was like,
Accessibility to.
yeah, accessibility to, because like how they have it in the morning, like
Right.
keeping it open. But the other one was the study center. Like we just added like a new like area to buy food, and
I didn't know that
I
either.
feel like it's a great idea, and it's gonna work. We just need to like better publicize it because a lot of people like don't even know about it, and they just go to the cafeteria
That's
is like the
great.
main one.
And what was the testing the testing issue with the schedule? I'm sorry.
Well, like having specific testing days, it kind of makes it difficult for like a lot of tests like overlap and end up falling on the same day. So,
It's
but
the
yeah.
coordination of tests.
Right,
when
yeah.
when they're actually, the dates in which they're given, there may be some piling up on one another.
Yeah,
Sort of happening at
exactly. With
same
the
time.
designated testing days.
That's
It's good
okay.
feedback, and I think, Elias, just as you're sharing that, I think with the back door being open, first thing that kind of comes to my mind is just the safety issue of having that back door open all day, but it's definitely something that Dr. V and the cabinet will take back. It's very interesting what you're saying about the testing as a scheduling component, so that's definitely something we'll look into.
Hear that a lot that students do struggle with their tests overlapping a lot, like 3 tests in one day, 4 tests in one day. So I think that's something
Great.
we could look at.
For sure.
Thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that.
Thanks again, appreciate
Hey,
it.
I just want to, is it like a law to only have one point of entry in the school? Yeah, I'm just wondering, because that's why, is that like difficult for having 2 different entry points?
So there isn't necessarily a law that we can, that restricts any schools from having a certain number of entrances or egresses, but we are always on the side of caution, and out of the abundance of safety of our students, we try to keep everything locked,
Yeah.
and have only kind of one point where there's really entrance coming in and out of people swiping in. But we will definitely take a look, Elias, and see
Alright.
if there's anything we can do.
All right, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Thanks again. And then, Dr. Villanueva, before I turn it over to you tonight, I think for those of you that have gone through the consent agenda, there's a lot of policies and there's a lot of work that's been done through the policy committee thus far this year. And Trustee Lombardi actually heads up the policy committee for us. So Christine, I'm going to turn it over to you just to give a very brief overview on some of the things that we'll be voting on the first reading tonight.
Sure, thanks, Matt. I just also want to extend our gratitude to Jackie and to Dr. V and yourself for collaborating on these policies. A lot of these policies that we reviewed were extremely outdated. A lot of them, some of them are from like the 90s. And I'm not joking. So the policies that we looked at are centered around some board governance as well as some local requirements that needed to be updated. So we've got about 13 on the agenda. We've reviewed them. I think we've actually had a policy meeting every 3 weeks. There's still a lot of policies that still need to be updated, but these 13 policies right now are the fruit of our efforts all year. So some of them, like I said, they're just updated, a lot for board governance, a lot to streamline, a lot of the policies that we're looking at, they kind of commingle with some of the additions that we've done, like with food services. So it's just to update all our policies and enjoy reading them.
Thank you, Christine. And then just very quickly, what you'll also notice in the consent agenda this evening are all of the great things that we're doing for our students. And I'm just going to very briefly run through that list. Tonight, we're going to be approving the Italian Club's trip to Italy. We're going to be approving English 9's class trip to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. We're going to be approving the ski club trip to Bel Air Mountain. We're going to be approving a trip for the ski club to Gore Mountain. We're going to be approving a trip for the robotics competition at Forest Hills High School. We're also going to be approving the AP Computer Science class for the programming competition at Siena College. We're going to be sending the EMS trip to Regeneron to the DNA Learning Center. We're also going to be sending AP Biology to the DNA Learning Center in Cold Spring Harbor, New York. We're approving things for the Olympiad team, as well as the FBLA Investing and Finance class trip to the stock market exchange, amongst many other trips and awesome things that we're doing as a school district. So just to highlight a few of those for you, but it is essentially a list of 16 different things that we will be approving this evening. So without further ado, Dr. V, I will turn it over to you for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And as I just give our introductions, I'll invite Ms. Joanne Dobbins and Ms. Erin McGee and Ms. Krista Uramelito up to the podium to get ready for their upcoming presentation. To your point, Mr. Finelli and Ms. Lombardi, this school district is moving and grooving. So not only are we sending our students out to get some real world experience and just observations out there to what they're learning in the classroom, we are certainly seeing the Board of Education working diligently through those policies. So thank you for just those acknowledgements. Tonight's presentation from our special education department will perhaps be new information or old information for some of you, just around what programs we offer here in the Eastchester School District. In addition to that, they're going to share a little bit about some of the new things that are happening. But this is the trio of administrators that oversees our SPED department across all of our schools from Waverly all the way up to the high school. And you have probably seen them in CSC meetings and all around the district. But I will now turn it over to Ms. Dobbins.
Thank you. Good evening and Happy New Year. I would like to begin by thanking the Board of Education for allowing us to speak on the topic very near and dear to our hearts. As you may or may not know, I came out of retirement after only 7 days to accept this position as your interim assistant superintendent. I've been in this field for 35 years, going on 36. When I told my family of my decision to return to work, which was at my retirement party, they were not the least bit surprised. The response I received was, "Mom, we knew you weren't ready, but where in the world is Eastchester?" I live upstate. I can say with all sincerity that I am glad I found Eastchester, or Eastchester found me. This school district embraces special education wholeheartedly. The services and programs offered here are exceptional. It is without a doubt a full-service, bend-over-backwards program. As illustrated on this slide, the primary objectives for a special education program is to afford our children the opportunity to participate in school district programs to the maximum extent appropriate to meet the needs of the student. These children need to be afforded the opportunity to participate in activities and programs available to all students. Under the mandates provided to us by both the federal and state guidelines, special education is provided after all interventions have been exhausted. We are mandated to offer academic intervention services, or AIS. This could be in the form of an academic service or a related service, and generally takes place at the building level. Data is collected and progress or lack of progress is reported. If some progress is reported, we continue on in this vein or tweak the intervention. Unfortunately, the process to get to the CSE is time-consuming, as it should be, because special education is not necessarily the answer for all students. In fact, the New York State classification rate is only 17% of all students in the state. As of the 24 school report card for Eastchester, we had 412 students classified, which accounts for 16% of our population. In writing an IEP, we look into specifically 4 areas. We look at the academic, educational achievement, and learning characteristics. We look at the social development, how students get along with peers and adults. We look at the physical development of the child as well as the management needs of the child. Management needs take into consideration the environmental modifications or material resources needed that will enable the student to benefit from instruction. Another component of classifying a special needs student is to consider the least restrictive environment. The goal of this component is to educate special education students, sometimes with modifications and accommodations, to access the general education curriculum for a free, appropriate education, public education, or FAPE, as possible, as well as keeping them within the boundaries of their home district in order for them to integrate with their non-disabled peers. The placement of students is a very delicate process. We have a continuum of services that needs to be followed under Part 200, which is the Bible of special education. To that end, I'm going to invite Erin and Christy to review with you the programs offered throughout our district this year, and Christy will also explain some changes we needed to make to enhance not only our program, but enhance the educational experience for our students.
Good evening. Thanks again for having us tonight and allowing us to speak on behalf of the Special Ed Department here at Eastchester. Just a few disclaimers before we begin, as it's a mighty task to try to put together what the continuum of services are offered at Eastchester in a few slides. So we tried to be as comprehensive as possible. But we just wanted to let everybody know this is a high-level overview. If there's any specifics that need to be discussed for any student, we're more than happy to always talk individually before meetings, during meetings, or after meetings. In addition, all of this information is up on our website, on the Eastchester website, on the page under Pupil Personnel Services, and it's our program description guide. So nobody has to write anything down or try to remember all of this. And then finally, what we discussed here tonight encompasses about 90 to 95% of our student population, this continuum. There are about 5 to 10% of other programs that we didn't fully put on here because they're more temporary placements or very small amount of students, and that's our residential programs, home instruction, or hospitalization.
So as Erin was stating, the Eastchester School District does offer a full continuum of support and services within the special education department. Starting with our most restrictive programs, our 812 and 913 special classes. The programs are designed to support students who present with significant needs across all areas of development, including cognitive, academic, language, communication skills, adaptive functioning, daily living skills, management, and behavioral needs. Students in our special class 812 and 913 have access to individualized one-on-one instruction to solidify skills and address IEP goals. Given the limited verbal language, students may rely on augmentative communication devices. They may also be addressing toileting needs in these classrooms as well. Following along the continuum, less restrictive, is our 1212 special classes. The students in these classes may present with deficits in areas of cognition, language, functional communication skills, academics, as well as social skills and behavioral management skills. Students in the 1212 special class are less independent and are acquiring skills in a small group and some individualized instruction as well. Less restrictive is our 1211 special class that is most closely aligned with the general education curriculum. Students in this class presents with slightly below average to average cognitive to slightly above average cognitive abilities. They may be working on communication development skills, as well as social skills and emotional regulation skills, as well as academics, fostering independence, and students are accessing instruction either in a small group or whole group instruction. As the board is aware, when we think about our new program, and you have graciously approved, the district is expanding our special education programming for Waverly for the remainder of the school year. This expansion includes the addition of a 12-1-2 special class and the potential addition of a 12-1-1 special class upon hiring. These additions will allow us to divide our current cohort into smaller, more manageable groups, improving instructional support and meeting the needs of our individual students.
Okay, continuing there, the next 3 programs are where the majority of our students are recommended, starting with our 15-to-1 program. This is designed for state-assessed students who require support in the core academic areas. At the elementary level, we have this for English and math for 4th and 5th grade, and at the secondary level, we have it in all of the areas, math, English, science, and social studies. And this is really designated and designed for students who are not independently meeting the grade level expectation, but are also able to be exposed and learn the content core standards. The main thing about this, as you hear 15-to-1, it's a smaller student-teacher ratio. And I would say the main difference here when we're looking at what program to recommend, 15-to-1 or co-teaching, we're really looking at 3 things. 1, the rigor and the complexity of the curriculum. 2, the level of independence by the students. And 3, the pace, how fast they can process the information and kind of acquire that information. The next program, our co-teaching, is where all of the majority of our students really fall. Our integrated co-teaching is just like it sounds, 1 general education certified teacher and 1 special education certified teacher. 2 adults are in the room. The nice thing about this is that it really is focusing on what we call specially designed instruction. So really still it's grade level content, but really doing that universal design for learning as well as specially designed instruction. And the main thing that we've been focusing on this year, you'll hear in a little bit, we have a consultant, our GNR consultant, who is focusing on co-teaching. So we're really focusing on the parallel teaching and station teaching models. And really, I would say, coming out of the co-teaching workshops is really what we're calling barrier-free instruction. So how can we eliminate those barriers for all students to access general education curriculum? The next I'm just going to jump is what we call resource room, and this is really providing supplementary instruction in smaller groups in regards to targeting IEP goals and outside of the core instructional period. Really focusing on skill building and a lot of collaboration with the general education teachers.
So reading instruction. So reading instruction is for classified students where they have access to structured research-based multisensory reading to support weaknesses in encoding and decoding in small groups. This is a newly added support in grades 2 through 5 and has been solidified to address fluency, comprehension, decoding, and encoding in the middle school and high school.
And then finally, we have related services. So that's our speech, our OT, our PT, our counseling, our vision, our hearing. We have orientation mobility, our nursing services. These can be individual, in isolation. They can be in small groups. They can be pushed in, pulled out. And then we have some students that just receive related services only, and some students that receive related services in addition to the programs we just discussed.
Case managers. Each student with an individualized education program has a case manager. They are the keeper of the IEP, the point person for the general education teacher and service providers to ensure everyone working with the student has a clear understanding of the IEP and the student's needs. If a student is in a special class or a co-teaching program, the special education teacher is the case manager. If a student is receiving related services only, then the case manager is the related service provider.
The next slide we put together, we just feel that transition is so important and approaching post-secondary, so we kind of just put together a continuum of transition services. This could be a separate meeting all in itself, as there is so much to kind of review, so I just put a few highlights. First, I'll start with our community-based instruction. So we have our classes, our full-day special classes go out into the community. They work on social skills, travel training, academic skills, functional and daily life skills, money management skills. We have a bus that takes them usually to either Trader Joe's or Stop and Shop. They buy items and functionally use that in the classroom. We also have our Eagle Cafe run by Miss Flynn's class. So that is where the students in her class purchase items, and then staff from the middle school and high school come on Fridays and are allowed to interact with the students and purchase those items. Next is our School to Work program. This has really kind of taken off in the last year. We have gotten together, our staff that assist with this program are amazing, and we've kind of tailored it to 3 levels. So we have level 1, which is for the most support. It's just in-house in our campus here, so middle school and high school. They work in the attendance office, they work in the guidance office, they also help in the cafeterias. Then our next level, if you have a little bit more independence and behavior management, is still within our Eastchester community, but our school district. So Ann Hutch, Greenvale, Waverly, all allow our students to take the bus, come there, and get to know some different faces and work on office skills or mailing or just some basic skills so they get out of this exact campus. And then our last level is the students who are the most independent and ready to kind of move on. And we have expanded our sites, so everybody knows we have the Lake Isle Senior Center, which is wonderful. We also work with Country Market, Nature's Cradle, the Eastchester Public Library, ECAP, the Tuckahoe Food Pantry, Barnes & Noble, and now we're still in the process of adding New York Presbyterian for the PT and the OT services. So wonderful program, and I thank all of our staff who are assisting with that. I'm sure many of you know our WISE program for our seniors. So May and June, our graduating seniors have the opportunity to participate in an internship or shadowing opportunity in an area of interest or personal growth option. Next, I put our ICT and our CTE program. So this is what everybody knows as our Career and Technical Education Center, or our BOCES program. The CTE program right now, we have over 20 programs, half-day career choice where they come to school for half of the day and then learn a trade for the other half. Like I said, over 20 programs, culinary, automotive, cosmetology, plethora of ones that everyone can find an area of interest. And then the ICTE program is more the intro to that. So for our students who have more significant maybe behavior management needs or language needs, and it's really doing a half-day career exploration, but in a much smaller learning environment. And besides learning trade skills, they're also working on appropriate behavior, how to dress, what social skills are, time management. We have some students involved there in our office skills program, our food and retail services, and then our introduction to fashion. I just put in there, everybody knows how amazing and robust our counseling department is. So from K through 12, but specifically focusing on that transition. I know the board had approved a couple of years ago the transition counselor, which has been wonderful, Miss Jacqueline Canisher, but I also want to highlight, the whole department, but really working on those transition services and having somebody who's so well-versed in waiver services, Access VR, OPWDD, paratransit, guardianship. It's been amazing. We also have our after-school opportunities. So we have Southeast Consortium, who assists with the basketball program for our full-day special class students. We have an in-house, we call it the Eagles Champion Academy, which is an arts and crafts kind of health and wellness program that we run. Everybody knows we have our Unified Athletics program. We also started this year, as you know, the Cornhole Club for Unified as well, which was wonderful. Finally, I just put a brand new program that we're instituting is called BEAT, and it's really a travel training program for our students, full-day special class students. So this is in partnership with Westchester County. Students build independence, safety awareness, confidence with traveling in the community. They really work on the Beeline bus system, a Metro card, and it's just a nice opportunity for our students to understand what it is to be independently functioning and being able to commute within the community. Finally, we just put a slide together about looking ahead, just some things to share. You know, we're continually adapting our special ed programs to meet the needs and, evolving needs of our students. As everyone knows, we have the FSP in the middle school and high school that is still continuing. We also have added specialized reading at all levels. We have integrated co-teaching this year in our physics class. Professional development, as I discussed before, we have our GNR consultants working really on co-teaching. Crisis Prevention Institute is working on behavior management and de-escalation strategies. And we just started this year for our full day special classes, a new curriculum, Teach Town, which is really a comprehensive, technology-based, interactive, engaging kind of curriculum for math, English, science, and social studies. It allows a lot more independence. It progress monitors and targets IEP goals, so a nice addition to help those programs. Collaboration with SEPTA and other resources is super important to us. We attend all our meetings and network with other districts. And then the last two we think we just really wanted to highlight is family involvement, active participation in all CSE and 504 meetings, staying connected with the team and service providers, and sharing insights with the team outside of the school setting. And then finally, the success stories. We think it is so valuable and important to celebrate and showcase and highlight all of the success that students with disabilities, all of the achievements that they have. And it's so important to us to hear and share examples of how students are outside of the classroom as well, because we have just found everybody has a niche and a real positive strength, and we just love to applaud them. That's kind of what we had put together. I really just wanted to say on behalf of the PPS and Special Ed Department, we thank the Board of Education wholeheartedly. We thank SEPTA so much, our district level administration colleagues, our building level administrative colleagues, our principals and APs who are on the day-to-day with this and working with us, our general ed teachers, our special ed teachers, our teaching assistants, our monitors, our nurses, our related service providers. We really just say thank you to everyone, as this takes a full village to help support our students, and mostly to the parents and students. We so appreciate their collaboration and partnership. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Erin, Christy, and Joanne. So board members, as you can see, we offer, and you already knew this, a very robust experience when it comes to our special education programming. We are starting to expand as our student needs grow. We will also ebb and flow, so if our students do graduate and move on as well, that can also shrink our program as well, but at this point, we are certainly offering a very robust experience. As we move forward into next year, and as we go into the budget season, you will hear a little bit more from the SPED department about locations, about programs opening up, so on and so forth. We are in the throes of talking with our administrative team now just for planning, looking at what our enrollment looks like, and as students graduate from one level to another, how that is going to stretch out across our district. So you can anticipate another presentation in a couple of weeks or in a couple of meetings as a follow-up. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. B. Any questions from anyone this evening? Okay, we are now up. Yes.
I wanted to just thank you very much for that after, so many years of being in the school district, but to have this level of detail, and really now everything kind of absorbs, and it is really so much that the district is doing in special education. Thank you, and thank you both. I just wanted to clarify, or you talked about case management, and you would think after all these years I would kind of know the distinction between the two. Can you just clarify, there's case management, you mentioned two distinct assignments, I think. One for IEPs and one I couldn't quite catch.
You can come on up to the podium.
Sorry.
Every student with an IEP has a case manager. So
And who's that?
Every student with an IEP has a case manager. So that is a person who is solely responsible for assuring that the IEP is being implemented with fidelity. So if a student is in a special education class, it's the special education teacher. If a student's in a co-teaching class, it's the special education teacher. If a student is receiving related services only, then if it's speech and OT, it's the speech language pathologist. If it's just OT, then it's the occupational therapist. So it kind of goes through the continuum. If it's counseling services, it's the psychologist.
All right, no, thank you for
That-
clarifying that. I just have one other question. The high school integrated co-teaching, that I knew it years, it'd be collaborative classes, right? Does every subject not every subject, the core subjects like math, English, social studies, science, those kind of core, I guess it's hard to say because the cores could be biology, chemistry, but not all of them have like
So
co-teaching.
it really depends on the student needs and the level,
Right.
the cohort. You know, some years, like so this year we had students that were in, or last year, in the integrated co-teaching chemistry class, that then the next level was physics, and we did not have a co-teaching
that's
physics.
new, right.
So then we had added that. So we kind of look at the needs of each student, but right now it is in English, social studies, and then some of the maths and all of the science.
No, and that's huge. We never really had that before.
Yeah.
I mean, not to this
And
extent, which.
I would say some of the classes that we don't have the co-teaching, we have either principals of that class, so a
Right.
different level of a class, so we
Right.
still are able to support our students. Should a need come up, we would then get together and obviously make a recommendation of what would be needed.
No, that's great. My last question, Teach Town. Can you, what's that new program? Can you explain that
So
again?
this is for our full day special class students. So students who are in our 812, our 913 at the secondary level, our 913 and our 1212 students. And we are piloting it at Ann Hutch in 2 of our classes. So we used to use what was called unique learning. So it's just an adapted, modified curriculum because these are students who take the New York State alternate assessment. So they're not taking the actual regions or the state assessments. So their curriculum can be modified and adapted to a level that they can access the curriculum. Unique Learning was wonderful and had some great things. We actually went on a visit of a district that had done Teach Town and was using Teach Town. We met with the consultant, and the great thing about Teach Town is that consultant comes here to do hands-on training. And it's just a very engaging computer-based program that has, any math concept you need, any social studies. They do units, which is nice for the students. So maybe we did a holiday unit, and that follows over into social studies and then into science. So it's very comprehensive. So far, the feedback has been positive from the teachers, and I think this is our learning year. We also went to 2 workshops, and we've done some inter-school visitations and some other districts as well who are piloting.
That's great. No, it's very intriguing.
There's not a lot out there for some of that adaptive curriculum. So many of our teachers were doing a lot of teacher-devised curriculum, making worksheets, and now that this program is out there and some others, it's nice that they're able to kind of pull from another area to help support the students.
Wow, that's great. Well, thank you very much for the detailed presentation. It was
Sure,
really
thank
great.
you.
Thank you again. And just before we move on to the consent agenda, one of the things that we'll be approving tonight under the consent agenda is next year's calendar. And I think, Rob, you're going to go through that briefly for us based off of the last meeting that we had. Thank you.
Sure. So last meeting, I had the pleasure of presenting to the board 2 options of what a district calendar could look like for the 26-27 school year. Based on the feedback, I took version 1 of that and adapted it a little bit to see if we can achieve basically the goal of a full week of spring break and a full week of winter break for our families so that it's not broken up. Instruction is a little more fluid. So here's the major change. We would basically shift up the start of school by 1 day. It's not too much of rocket science. It's just a way to squeeze in an extra day off come the spring. So you'd see here that our teachers would return on August 28th for superintendent's conference days on the right side. And then another 2 superintendent's conference days as we typically do. Our students then would start on September 2nd. So that is the change from version 1. With that version, I'll keep it brief. February stays the same in either version, so that's great. And then finally in March, you'll see here that in version 1B, we go down to 17 school days because we have an extra 1 on September 2nd. So it's a pretty simple change, and I think it achieves some of our goals. Any questions on that? Great.
I think I heard that it was very important to keep those breaks whole, and so by just moving up that one Friday in that August, it allows our faculty to come back, and then students can still start at a reasonable date, September 2nd, before the Labor Day weekend, and then we're good to go.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone on that? Okay. We are now up to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for the approval of the consent agenda? Christine?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda, which includes the following: 7, approval of minutes; 8, personal agenda; 9, committee on preschool, special education recommendations; 10, pupil personnel recommendations; 11, business office recommendations; 12, educational and curriculum and instruction; 13, board policies; and 14, other businesses.
Thank you, Christine. Do I have a second? Sean? All in favor? Thank you. Future meeting dates, we will be having a work session on January 20th, and then our next public meeting will be on February 10th, which will be a regular meeting. We are now up to comments from the public. So again, if you'd like to make a comment, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. To the microphone, not the podium. Well, the microphone that's not at the podium, just to clarify. State your name, your address, and just remember, please keep it to 3 minutes and refrain from naming any individual by name. Is there anyone tonight for public comment? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Sean, do I have a second? Jill, all in favor? Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.